Two announcements landed weeks apart in 2026. One came from a league flush with confidence and a completely new plan for the sport. The other came from a league burning through roughly $100 million every month with no funding left after this season. What follows is the full story of how the golf war actually ended. For 4 years, the PGA Tour and LIV Golf fought each other in courtrooms, in press conferences, and in the locker rooms of every major championship. The war did not end the way anyone predicted. It ended because one side is running out of money and the other decided to completely reinvent itself. 4 years ago, almost everyone assumed these two positions would eventually be reversed. Start with the PGA Tour, because its announcement reveals where professional golf is actually heading. In late June of 2026, on June 23 at the Travelers Championship at TPC River Highlands in Cromwell, Connecticut, the PGA Tour unveiled the biggest structural overhaul in a generation. The changes were approved by the Policy Board and the PGA Tour Enterprises Board, and they will take effect with the 2028 season. This was not a vague framework promise. It was a concrete declaration of direction from the Tour's new leadership. That leadership belongs to Brian Rolapp, who spent 22 years at the National Football League before being appointed Chief Executive Officer of the PGA Tour in June 2025. The Tour's boards have also approved Brian Rolapp to succeed Jay Monahan as commissioner after Jay Monahan retires at the end of the year, and he will keep the Chief Executive Officer title as well. From the start, Brian Rolapp laid out 3 guiding pillars for the organization: parity, scarcity, and simplicity. He then did something his predecessors never quite managed. He admitted the Tour's own failures out loud, acknowledging that there had been too many events, too little imagination, and a product that had become allergic to disruption. For an organization that had spent years insisting it was the rightful home of professional golf, that admission was not a sign of weakness. It was a statement of intent. From a leader who understood that the way to defeat the LIV Golf Challenge was not to wait for the rival to collapse, but to build something better in its place. When he announced the model, Brian Rolapp framed it plainly. We had a productive meeting yesterday where our boards approved the Future Competition Committee's recommendation to establish a new competitive model for the PGA Tour that will begin with the 2028 season, he said. He then described it in the release as a new competitive model grounded in meritocracy, with clearer pathways, higher stakes, and more consistency when the best players compete together. He also spoke about honoring the game's history without being trapped by it. I think every sport has a tradition, and golf is no different, Brian Rolapp said. Golf is a rich one. We've always said from the beginning it's our job to honor that tradition but not be overly bound by it. The overhaul itself works much like a promotion and relegation system in soccer. There will be 2 separate series of tournaments that run at the same time during the season: the PGA Tour Championship Series, which is the top track, and the PGA Tour Challenger Series, which is the pathway to the top track. Players will compete in one series or the other, but not both. The Championship Series will feature up to 24 events, including 16 signature events, the Players' Championship, the 4 major championships, season-ending tournaments, and the Ryder Cup or President's Cup. Each signature event will be a 72-hole stroke play tournament with a field of roughly 120 golfers, a 36-hole cut to the top 65 in ties, and a purse of at least $20 million. That season will run from around February through August. The heart of the system is retention and relegation. At least the top 90 players in the points list will keep their membership the following season. Another 20 players will be promoted from the Challenger Series each year, and lagging performers will be relegated. There will be no sponsor exemptions. The Challenger Series will consist of a minimum of 20 tournaments, each played over 72 holes with a 36-hole cut to the top 65 and ties and purses of at least $4 million. Its fields will hold 144 golfers and will include amateurs. Any golfer who wins twice in the Challenger Series earns immediate promotion to the Championship Series, and about 7 elevated Challenger Series events will be played during off weeks with increased points and consequences. There are more changes layered on top. The Tour will crown a regular season champion. It will bring match play back into the postseason. and it will run a last-chance fall series of 4 to 6 events in the United States for players facing relegation. The venues are changing too. The tour is targeting prestigious courses it rarely or never plays, such as Pine Valley Golf Club, Cypress Point Club, and Seminole Golf Club, and it is eyeing larger markets including Boston, Denver, New York, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Seattle, and Washington, D.C. The Tour Championship will stay at East Lake Golf Club in Atlanta through 2027 before rotating to other sites. The plan came from the Future Competition Committee chaired by Tiger Woods, who made his first public appearance after his Dewey arrest in March and treatment outside the country. The committee also included players Patrick Cantlay, Maverick McNeely, Keith Mitchell, Adam Scott, and Camilo Villegas, along with business advisors Joe Gorder, John Henry, and Theo Epstein. Tiger Woods put the work in personal terms. This work was bigger than any one player or person. It was about designing the strongest possible version of the PGA Tour for the future generations of fans and players, he said. He added a second time it was about bringing together different perspectives, having honest, hard conversations, and thinking broadly about what is best for the game that we all love. Maverick McNeely described the balance the committee was chasing. In some ways, it's a big change, but in other ways, it's going to be the PGA Tour you know and love, he said. Quick pause. If you think this restructuring is exactly what golf needed, type about time. If you think they only changed because LIV Golf forced their hand, type LIV. I read every comment. Not everyone is convinced. Rory McIlroy, the reigning 2026 Masters champion, criticized the second track before the announcement, worrying it would become glorified developmental golf. I just think there's going to be certain events that might lose their stature if a sponsor doesn't pony up $30 million, so that's the tough thing, Rory McIlroy said. An event like last week, the Canadian Open, potentially going to one of these track twos, I don't think the Canadian Open should be one of those. He also argued that with LIV Golf fading, the sport did not need to change so much. LIV created this false economy where we had to up prize funds and had to cut fields and try to support the top players and all that stuff, he said. He went further, saying that the old ways of the PGA Tour weren't actually that bad. After the announcement, Rory McIlroy softened his position, calling the changes a positive step and adding, "It is encouraging to see the PGA Tour reaffirming the importance of meritocracy and creating a structure that will serve both players and fans well into the future." Rory McIlroy was not alone. Jack Nicklaus was publicly uneasy about parts of the plan. "I don't want to comment on the tour's schedule because I'm not exactly in favor of what they're doing right now," Jack Nicklaus said, adding that he wanted a conversation with Brian Rolapp and Jay Monahan. His specific concern was the calendar. "I hate to see tournaments bunched too much together with too many big tournaments too close together," he said. Brian Rolapp pushed back on the idea that the second track would be second-rate golf. "We've just organized the same tour into a much more interesting and competitive system." He said arguing the Challengers Series would be played at recognizable venues for healthy purses and would include a subset of the same 200-plus players who compete today. The real risk that critics name is that a two-track model could create a permanent underclass, players technically on the tour but competing for a fraction of the rewards, with the smaller feel-good stories becoming harder to produce. Still, there was praise. Wyndham Clark, fresh off his 2026 United States Open win, applauded the plan. "I think this two-track system is going to bring meritocracy, and it's going to make it easier to follow the PGA Tour, and then match play should be a lot of fun to watch," he said. Now turn to the other side of the war, because the LIV Golf announcement is not a triumph. It is a confession. On April 30, 2026, Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, which had funded the breakaway circuit since its inception, announced it would stop funding LIV Golf after the 2026 season, stating the investment no longer fit its strategy. The scale of the spend is staggering. Estimates place the total between $5 billion and $8 billion since 2021, on pace to pass $6 billion by the end of the season. The league's non-United States operations reportedly lost close to $600 million in 2024 alone, and reporting has described the league burning through roughly $100 million every month. After 4 years, it had little to show for that spending in broadcast ratings, mainstream relevance, or a self-sustaining business model. The fallout came quickly. Yasir Al-Rumayyan, the public investment fund governor who created LIV Golf and chaired its board, stepped down from the chairman role. He remains governor of the public investment fund, overseeing a portfolio worth more than $925 billion, and still chairs Saudi Aramco, Ma'aden, Newcastle United, and Riyadh Air. LIV Golf created a new independent board led by Gene Davis of Pyrenate Consulting Group and John Zinman of G Advisors. The league also hired a restructuring team, retaining Gibson, Dunn & Crutcher as counsel, Alex Partners as financial advisor, and Ducera Partners as investment banker. Reports emerged that LIV Golf was laying groundwork for a potential Chapter 11 bankruptcy filing in the United States and was exploring relocating its headquarters there for more favorable restructuring law. Its entities currently span the United Kingdom, the United States, and the island of Jersey, while its controlling entity sits with the Public Investment Fund in Riyadh. The league postponed its inaugural New Orleans event in Louisiana, which had been scheduled for June 25 to 28, leaving a 6-week gap in the schedule. Chief Executive Officer Scott O'Neill was left searching for money. He is seeking between $250 million and $350 million just to stabilize operations, floating a slimmed-down plan of as few as 10 events with smaller purses built around team franchise golf and player equity. Publicly, he kept the tone confident. "I can say they've been terrific partners so far, and you have to take an incredible organization like PIF at their word," Scott O'Neill said of the Public Investment Fund. When asked whether he could guarantee the final events of the season, he answered, "What I can guarantee is a heck of a return if you come invest in this business." He added, "What we don't have is a lot of time, so we're very urgently out there talking to those who are interested. There are reasons Saudi Arabia pulled back." The Public Investment Fund refocused on domestic priorities under a 2026 to 2030 strategy, facing mounting commitments to World Expo 2030 and the 2034 FIFA World Cup. The Iran war and the closure of the Strait of Hormuz reportedly cut Saudi oil exports nearly in half, tightening the checkbook. When the fund laid out its future priorities, LIV Golf was conspicuously absent from the list. The players are caught in the middle. Bryson DeChambeau, whose contract expires at the end of 2026, has actively helped Scott O'Neill pitch the team and equity model to investors. "We were surprised that they pulled out as quickly as they did," Bryson DeChambeau said. "We didn't really see that coming. But that's okay. One door closes, another opens." He has also spoken about leaning into his own media channel and just playing the majors if the league folds, while hinting the PGA Tour would penalize a return. "We'll see if investors like it or not. I'm giving all I can to make it happen, and if it doesn't happen," he explained. Jon Rahm, who is contracted through 2027, has taken the opposite approach and refuses to pitch investors. "I am not no," Jon Rahm said. "It would be more of a stay-in-your-lane type situation as it goes to me. I know nothing about business." He noted he has 3 young children with another on the way and does not see many ways out of his deal. Others are quietly calculating a return to the PGA Tour or the DP World Tour before a possible collapse. The exit is not simple. The PGA Tour's one-time returning member program opened in January 2026 and closed on February 2, 2026, and it applied only to players who won a major championship or the Players' Championship between 2022 and 2025. Brooks Koepka used a pathway back to the tour, and Patrick Reed exited after failing to agree on an extension. The longer a star stays with LIV Golf, the higher the cost to come home, both financially and competitively. The whole story is 2 announcements pointing in the same direction. The PGA Tour is reinventing itself with confidence, and LIV Golf is scrambling for a lifeline. 4 years ago, the assumption was that the Saudi money would prove inexhaustible and the PGA Tour would be the one fighting to survive. The bottomless well turned out to have a bottom after all. The reason the tour could move so boldly now is the combination of Brian Rolapp's outsider's eye from the National Football League and a rival stumbling at exactly the right moment. which lets the tour position itself as the clear home of golf's future. Yet the paradox is that even as LIV Golf fades, its impact is permanent. LIV Golf created the very economics that forced the PGA Tour to raise purses, cut fields, and elevate events, and it pushed the establishment into a structure it never would have built on its own. The PGA Tour that emerges from this era is fundamentally different because LIV Golf existed, and that is LIV Golf's strange, expensive, unintended legacy. Real questions remain. Relegation could alienate players, the two-track split could breed resentment, and Rory McIlroy's fear about the second track may still prove right. Pathways for the DP World Tour, exemptions, and the future of qualifying school are all unresolved. The model passed, but the work continues. In the end, the PGA Tour won the war, but LIV Golf changed the battlefield. One side made a shocking announcement about a bold new future, and the other made a shocking announcement about an uncertain survival. And together, those two announcements have changed professional golf forever.